Well, happy Father's Day and welcome to this edition of the gospel that says we're going to be dividing the entire family against one another. Whew, what a day. And yet here we are gathered together in a place where, I don't know, are there times that you begin to lose hope, crying for justice? Are there times that you begin to wonder, is all of this worth it? Is this continual fight for justice part of anything? Is my breath just becoming air, or is it actually doing something? I know you look at me and you say, Pastor Justin, you are adorable and wonderful, and absolutely everyone must love you at all times. Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but there are moments that some of our own people in the ELCA don't like me. You see, I've been for 25 plus years working on issues of race and justice in the ELCA and have at many a day opened up my mouth when maybe I should have kept quiet just to protect my own self being, because I knew as soon as I said something, the person listening wasn't going to like me much. But I couldn't keep quiet. I couldn't just sit there and be still. I couldn't just not expect justice or talk about race in a matter of a time when we are in an ELCA where 98% of the ELCA is white. We're in the midst of bishop elections, for example, right now. And I say, for those that don't know, you can nominate anybody from across the United States to become a bishop, any pastor across the entire United States, and yet it often is the same people elected over and over and over again. And so I'll point out, hey, isn't it interesting that the ELCA, for example, is 98% white and all the bishops are 98% white, which doesn't always win me fans. I get Jeremiah, though. I mean, it's so internal to who I am, and it's been part of who I am to be a prophetic pastor, to look around the world and say, here are places where justice is needed. You see, I haven't only been talking about race and racism in the ELCA. I've also been working on issues of two-spirit LGBTQIA plus issues within the ELCA. I've been looking at how ELCA congregation or bishops treat uh, congregations of color. I've been looking at all these things my entire career. And there are moments that, as I said, if I wanted to preserve my own standing, I would keep my mouth shut. But I can't. Jeremiah says that fire burns within us and that proclamation has to be stated. And I get it. But there are also moments that it becomes tiring. And that's where Jeremiah is writing from right now. He's writing from a tired state. He's just wondering, is this all worth it? Is the cry for justice and the proclamation of the prophetic voice of proclaiming God's justice in a world that doesn't want to hear justice, is it all worth it? His friends mock him. The people around him mock him. They're all waiting for him to make a mistake so they can pounce upon him. I mean, how often do you get tired of crying for justice in a world that doesn't want to seem to be equitable? How often do you cry out, Lord, be with us here now? I think of the late, great Howard Thurman, who was a contemplative African American preacher. He was the spiritual advisor to Martin Luther King Jr., and often in his writings, he would write about the weariness of crying out for justice. And many times in his lectures, he would just kind of pass out because he was just so tired. He was going from place to place to place in his lectures, and he would travel around the country talking about justice during the civil rights movement and crying out to a people that didn't want to hear his message necessarily. And so when he'd get back home, sometimes he'd be in the classroom and he'd begin his lectures to the students, and he would just kind of collapse. But he felt it internally. And this is what Jeremiah is talking about. In the midst of this whole place of proclamation, we recognize that sometimes our words seem hopeless, but it is God who preserves us. It is God who continues to carry us. It is God that continues to move us. And that's where we come to the gospel today. Jesus is telling his disciples that the message that they're going to proclaim of one of love and hope and justice is not always going to be heard. But there may be some who do indeed hear it. And they're going to have to make a choice between following their families or going out into the world to proclaiming love and hope and justice. It's a difficult choice at times. And again, I get it. As I've shared with you before, both my parents are atheists. They don't believe in God. And yet here I am as a pastor of the church. And sometimes they wonder, what did we do wrong? But they also understand this is who I am. So I had to make the choice between family or faith. And it's not an easy choice. But this is what it means to be a prophetic voice in the midst of community. You don't always win fans. You don't always have best friends. Sometimes you can anger a lot of people. But this is where movement and change begins, because if we don't push, who will? And this is what God is encouraging and Jesus is encouraging in the faith and in the ministry of the disciples and in your ministry. Don't lose hope. Don't give up. Continue to proclaim that love of God, even when the world doesn't want to hear it. Continue to proclaim justice, even when the world doesn't want to give justice. Continue to proclaim equity, even when it seems the world won't accept it. Keep going. Have hope. Cling to God. In Jesus' name, amen.